It's podcast number 7.
Really? That's number 7 already?
I know, lucky number 7. Yeah, and this week, this podcast is with whom?
Daudi Matsiko.
Yeah, and how amazing is that guy?
It's absolutely brilliant. We were chatting for such a long time. I can't believe you edited it down to an hour.
I know, it's come out a lot later than I thought it was going to, but it has taken some editing because we literally spoke for like an hour and 3/4, and the podcast has come down to about an hour. So there's just loads of just casual fun chat that has not made it through to the final piece, but I thought, you know,
we can save it. It's a podcast extra in the future.
We've probably got enough for another podcast.
We had a whole discussion about cinema trailers at one point.
Yeah. Anyway, that's enough of us. Let's get into Daudi Matsiko.
Secretly, I've not been breathing. Surprised you've not mentioned how I've been. My eyes grey, they are unseeing, and my hands cold and out of reach.
Hello.
Hey.
We're with Daudi.
It's a very exciting evening. How has your day gone so far today?
It's been all right, you know. It's been a funny day. Oh, I'm just not. I think I've talked about it before, but like I'm just not on top of things. Just not on top of emails, not on top of anything. So it's sort of.
It was any consolation. I feel like I'm running from one thing to the next thing at the moment without any break in between.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
It's just life is sort of.
Yeah.
You know, it's really lovely. To get to do. It's so funny when I was like, if you asked me when I was like 15 or 16, like what the life of a musician would look like, it isn't this.
There's a lot less music than
it's
you thought.
mostly admin. Yeah. Mostly admin and emails, and then like a bit of music if everything works out. But it's I'm grateful and very lucky. Yeah, I did a bit of. I started doing some. I'll talk a bit later. I started doing some like workshops with young people. So I did the first couple of days doing that was today. I only do it like I do it 2 days a week, but it's like a couple of hours a day. It's not a big thing, but it's really nice. Really fun writing some songs, just like songwriting workshops.
Cool.
Rock up to a school and try and get everyone to write a song, and it's really
secondary or primary.
Secondary at this, the last 2 have been secondary schools. Yeah, primary schools, I've not actually done many in primary schools, but yeah, secondary schools are really mint. Yeah. In terms of just like, because I've not done it in ages. I've not done it since before the pandemic. And so it was quite funny, like sort of going back in and getting back into that headspace. But it's really, what's scary, or not even scary, what's funny is how just normal it is in terms of like everyone who writes songs the same, like everyone's nervous, and then you have to coax it out of yourself or out of other people, and you have to kind of. So yeah, it was really good, and like I was sort of as like an existential exercise for songwriters. It's quite nice to, it's a really lovely experience to try and do.
Yeah, it's putting yourself out there for that vulnerability, isn't it? To put something you've created in front of other people. It's so nerve-wracking.
But also, it's not that deep as well. Like, you kind of just, it's just songs. And I think that's part of like, you know, like if someone asked me, I've been thinking about this a lot recently, this week especially. I've had some really lovely things said about my new record and all that stuff. And if I'm being totally honest, when I made it, I just made the songs I could make. Like, I didn't set out to make, well, is that true? Like, being vulnerable was a necessity, I think. But I think it would have been... Sorry, I got something in my eye. I think it would have always been that way. Like, but I think sometimes if I try... Well, maybe not if you, but if I go into a session thinking, like, I'm going to be really vulnerable. Let's be really vulnerable. Let's try and be vulnerable. It sort of weirdly doesn't work.
Yeah.
It's sort of like...
It's not something you can really fake.
No, you can't fail.
No,
unless you're an Oscar winner, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, well, this is it. So I think all paths to the source are fine. Like in terms of all passed to the end result. But what I enjoyed today with the session was that it just like they wrote like a really like an emotionally valid and true tune, but the way in which we got there, it was just like quick fire first reactions. It wasn't really about overthinking or trying to be anything. It was just like, what's the first thing? So I think it's a common thing that happens with young people in my sessions, where I'll be like, think of a line, and they'll be like, I can't think of anything, and I'll go, that's a great line, and then like we kind of start that way, and then it's just reacting to that and reacting to what you've just written, and it's like first, and I don't think it always works, but I don't know, I forget that sometimes when I'm sat here in my little studio space and I'm like, I need to come up with something, I can get all very woe is me about the process. When actually it can be way simpler and just as valid.
I've always thought that about Spandau Ballet. They've got a line that says, why do I find it hard to write the next line?
Right.
I just wonder if that was like a holding line that just kind of stayed in the song.
A holding line to say, maybe holding lines are weird though. I don't know if I definitely always edit, and I'll edit live as well. Like sometimes at a gig, if I've got a new song and I'll come up to a line and then I'll just sort of realise, oh, that's not very good, before I sing it and change it on the fly.
Okay.
That's like usually in a very low pressure scenario, like an open mic, or like my friend Matt Blick. I've got a friend in Nottingham, a songwriter called Matt Blick. He has a songwriting group. I've not been in ages, but they've just started up again, and that was all about writing a song every week.
Okay.
Oh no, that's not true. It was the first Thursday. It used to be the first Tuesday, and now it's called the third Thursday. So it's the third Thursday every month in Knots. But yeah, that was all about like kind of just like you've got a month to write a tune, crack on, mate, and and then
we
you get
expect
feedback
results next month. Yeah.
It's really
But it's always responding to if you're either responding to a deadline or responding to some kind of framework. I always think creativity works best almost if you give it a boundary that you're trying to respond to. Because if you can be too open with it, then it's really hard sometimes for creativity to flow. But if you give yourself some kind of rules or guidelines, so I do it more visually.
Yeah.
But if you kind of have like a brief that you're trying to respond to or something like that, then it's always easier to come up with a response to it rather than just being like just completely open, go and create something, and then you just go, you just go completely blank.
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely I'm not very good at writing to briefs. How's that true? I'm talking nonsense. I'm chatting real wit here. I've not tried to write to a brief very much, but then that's not true. I had a brief when I made the record. So like I was gonna make, the brief was simple, the pitch was simple. I was gonna make my own version of Pink Moon, and what that meant, like, didn't mean that in terms of like I wasn't gonna like make Pink Moon, but in terms of how they made it. So like I lived in a terraced house, and I started the record before the pandemic, and so the best time to record would have been between like, I don't know, like 1 a.m. and like 4 a.m.
Yeah.
And like, so when the roads are really quiet, and then, and in the same way, Nick Drake could only get studio time at the time between the after hours at the studio. They didn't record it. It was just like all one take kind of stuff. They just did guitar and vocal most of the way, and then there was a little bit of piano, and they just did what they just made a record with what was available.
Yeah.
And I kind of had a similar thing. I was like, okay, well, maybe that's just the brief. It's like I didn't want to go to a studio. I didn't really want to work with another producer. I had this sort of not even an epiphany, but like a kind of a thought that arm wrestled its way to the front of my mind, which was that I needed to self-produce, and primarily because I cared. Like I still kind of feel this way. Like it's an interesting, there's so many versions of what a songwriter can be, and I really liked the craftsmanship of doing most of it by yourself, like engineering and stuff. I complained the whole way, like
Did you write to your management, write to yourself and go,
I was miserable, but I did it, and I really when I was in it, like I really like I was going through some old notebooks and they were mostly complaints, but like it was something quite special. It's like in the same way that, you know, you make a dress and you're in the room holding the materials and sewing the parts. Like that was kind of like how it was making the record. Like I was sort of in a room, like adding sounds and the songwriting and the recording process happened. They didn't really overlap very much. There was maybe a little bit of overlap, but not really, because I was trying to do all the guitars and vocals in one go at the same time.
Okay.
Which was a little bit stressful. So what I got in the habit of doing was like 3 takes in a row, and then I'd listen back and see which one I would keep and that kind of thing. But
yeah.
So we actually met you and saw you play at the Manchester Folk Festival.
Yes.
Yes, because we're
not expecting you to remember. You must have met
No, I was there. I remember you guys.
We came up to you afterwards. So we'd been to see, Lady Nade had just done a tour with us on the ShireFolk tour, and she was talking on a panel, and then you were performing at the panel, and we were just like completely spellbound. I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. And so we went over and bought your...
It was just wonderful to see the entire audience just hanging on your every pause almost, because it was just such a lovely performance. But everyone was just...
The pin drop noise, you know, the silence in the room, it was incredible.
So we did accost you slightly after that whilst you were trying to do your merch. But
but that's exactly what it's for. That was like... It was such a special thing to be a part of. Like I've always, you know, I love folk music, and I love being part of the Black Lives in Music stage on the folk thing, because especially coming from with my background, I grew up in Cambridgeshire, which is like a folk area. Yeah. I would say, but I rarely did folk gigs. I was always kind of slightly on the outside. And so it felt really well. I was really gassed to have been invited to the event, and also because folk music influenced so much in my guitar playing, like fingerstyle guitar in particularly.
You can hear that. You can really tell with your playing style.
Yeah. You know, it was weirdly, I think most of my influences came from America. Well, no, that's not quite true. Nick Drake, obviously, a big part of it, and then like American primitive guitar, so like John Fahey and all those kind of cats, and then like what else there was something else in my mind, and then just like the communities of people that I'd meet in the Fens, you know. But I never played like the Cambridge Folk Festival or anything like that, but I'd always wanted to, and it was always kind of like I was always kind of slightly perplexed as to how I couldn't get a gig, but it was such a joy to be at the festival. And so like when we all got to chat after, like that was exactly that. I wish every gig was like that, where like, and that's kind of what I hope every gig is like, where you know, the merch stand. It's weird. Like I guess I'm not playing big enough stage. I guess there must be a level of, there must be a size of room where it's no longer like practical to have like big chats at the end of the gig. But that's kind of why I do it. Like I've like.
Well, I don't know, because I toured a bit with John Mayall from John Mayall and the Blues Breakers.
Yeah.
So we were doing. I was his guitar tech for that for one of the tours, and that was like 2,500 seaters.
Sweet.
And he would literally walk off the front of the stage at the end of the show and
meet
every single person that wanted to come and meet him.
I honestly want to shake every audience member's hand and say thank you for coming. Like it's such a. I had it in Brighton in December, where like we hadn't. I was really, you know, now I'm doing like headline shows. I've never had to think about ticket sales before. Like no one's told me how well the gig's done before the gig, and now I do generally have a night, I get to know that information, and sometimes it's like you kind of. It's a good thing and a bad thing. Sometimes, you know, if the gig sells out, you're like, oh, this is going to be so exciting. But then if it doesn't, or worse, if it's like low numbers, you're like, you know, it's an adventure. Like you kind of think to yourself, okay, so if no one's there, do the gig. It's going to be really special. And like I had it recently, like in Edinburgh. Oh no, was it Edinburgh? One of the shows recently, I was like, it was Hebden Bridge. I didn't know anything about we were playing at the Trades, and I hadn't looked at the. Didn't know about the audience number, so I just prepared for it to be like me and my mate Ryan just hanging out, and I was like, I was going to do the gig anyway, and it was such a joy. But like my point with all this is just like, is just like never take for granted. Like if one person that came to that gig, I would have shaken their hand and like had a pint and just like really, you know, if they were up for it, obviously, but like, but I really wanted to say thank you to everyone. Like in Brighton, but the merch stand was by the door, and I just shook everyone's hand as they left. Like I was just it was such an emotionally beautiful thing. It's always quite emotional for me to get that, to be in that people want to spend some time with some songs, and so thank you for coming and saying hi. That was and that's particularly event. Do you know, I went to ask you actually, because I've still not done. I've got everyone's email address from that thing, but I haven't emailed them yet. And I should probably do an email, but I feel like I've left it too late now. I'm like, I don't know if I've left it too late.
Not at all. They probably love it.
You'll be getting an email just saying, "Oh, that gig was really lovely. Thank you for coming." And because it really was special. It really was special, and every gig is special. Like I'm looking forward to the ones we've got.
The whole idea behind the ShireFolk thing is that we were in quite rural communities, and so you'd been to the Manchester Folk Expo, the English Folk Expo the year before, and seen some incredible performers, and Wes was phoning me going, "Oh, we're going to go see these people, and we're going to look at when they're playing, and we're going look." And then we looked at people's tour schedules and went, "No one comes to our part of the country.
Nobody comes here anywhere near." So it was like you've got to travel into Birmingham to see anybody, and that's quite a jaunt for us.
Yeah, and it kind of all stemmed from that. So it is. So we've managed to and having the pop-up venues and the spaces, because being in rural communities, we have bigger theatres, but we don't, and we have a lot of pubs, but we don't have a lot of those in between spaces.
Yeah.
So that was where. So it's all about creating these pop-up spaces and developing the audiences, and it's going really well.
They're intimate shows in quirky pop-up spaces, you know. So the Thursdays at Ludlow Distillery, which is great.
It's actually in the distillery itself. So you've got all the whiskey barrels down the side. You've got a gin school behind, and it's literally in that space. So it's kind of a cool space. And
then on the Friday, we're at the Jam Factory, which is a pub in Hereford where they're totally committed to original live music.
Nice.
But just before they opened, I sort of randomly was looking for space to do something in Hereford, and I got in touch with them, and they said the one area they've not been able to cover, because they're trying to cover a bit of everything, and was folk. And so we just happened to contact them at exactly the right time.
Amazing.
And then on the Saturday...
So, in the Hereford one, it's like an upstairs room.
In a little...
Yeah,
like
I've got
really
a friend
cool...
who lives in Hereford, and she was telling me about it. She really digs it.
Yeah, and they've been so supportive.
Yeah.
And then in Bridgenorth, on the Saturday night, it's like a cafe.
Nice.
And we completely disrupt the cafe. We take out all the furniture. And,
amazing.
So once a month, we destroy their cafe, and they're totally on board for it. It's fine.
It's great.
Good.
But yeah,
it sounds like a really... it's like you're building a community, you know, you're part of a community already. And it's
that's the whole idea. And we do have people who have bought a ticket to every show, and they're trusting us to... If we've said it's good, so if we say we've booked this person because we think they're brilliant and you should come because you may not have heard of them. And what's so lovely is the audience is going, okay, we haven't heard of this person, but you've said it's worth coming, so we're going to get a ticket.
Because we're only booking people we totally believe in, which is why, like, literally, as you were playing, we're like, I wonder if he'll come. I wonder.
No, absolutely. Is
it weird to go in a costume at the merch stand? Is it weird?
That's the best place to do it.
But it's working, and then every month, people are seeing an artist they haven't seen before, and then falling in love with that artist and becoming their fan, which is great. So
and we just finished a ShireFolk tour with Georgie Buchanan, and she plays the harp.
Nice.
And today we can say, because we're not announcing until the weekend, this might be out for the weekend, but we've also booked The Breath.
Oh, wicked! You know, Raina, she's amazing.
Isn't she?
Yeah, I know Stuart as well. But I love them both. What an absolute win!
Yeah, we're really excited.
And so Georgie, the harp player, who's just been on the ShireFolk tour, we've just booked her to be the support act for The Breath, and so they're playing in the church in November. So
oh, wicked! Are they doing all three venues, or
No, they're just doing one bigger venue.
It's like a one-off special. So we've got like a deconsecrated church in Bridgenorth, which is such a cool space that doesn't get used enough.
Yeah. So deconsecrated, does that mean the church no longer use it?
Yeah, it's basically a space you can hire.
Building now.
But And like, you know, like some of the spaces in Manchester and stuff where there used to be churches. Sorry, I'm banging the table.
Nice.
But they've stripped them out. This one's still got all its gubbins inside. It's still got all the pews, and so it's
fully
a beautiful,
furnished.
Yeah, exactly. It's like a pre-made venue.
Yeah.
But it's not used for any kind of religious purposes at all. So you can just hire it as a space.
Yeah.
And
So just because we saw them at the Manchester Folk Festival as well. And
That gig was amazing, right?
Wasn't it just like, wow.
Absolutely stunning.
And she wanted a drink and you popped up and saved the day with a whiskey bottle.
I didn't, do you know what? She said she wanted a pint. And I was like, someone's got to sort out of a pint. He's not. I was like, this is an outrage. Get a pint.
There he is, the warrior, saving the day. Here he comes with the
I
drink.
doubt, my contribution was very small. It was, yeah.
It was a surround sound gig.
Yeah, that gig was really
yeah.
special. Like, it was kind of bonkers how enveloping it was.
Yeah.
And just as like I'm a fan of the Breath, and they were just so gorgeous.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really special.
How do you pronounce her name properly?
Raina.
Raina. Okay. Thank
Yeah.
you. Because I'm dyslexic, so reading names anyway is quite complicated.
I've struggled with it in the past. Like, I think in the past I was like, because the first time we met, I met her through GoGo Penguin.
Oh, okay, cool.
And because when I was touring with them, I still tour with them, but like the first time I toured with them was back in 2016, and we did like 2 nights at Bound on the Wall.
Yeah.
And Raina came to that gig, and I think I might have even, I don't think I ever called her Rihanna, but like my brain kind of went that way.
Yeah.
I think it's just Raina. I think Raina.
Yeah, Raina.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Okay.
Super.
A good thing I do sometimes is I'll go back and I'll watch an interview with someone.
That's what I tried, but she says it so fast I can't hear it properly. I've been doing my research. I don't want to get it wrong.
Nice. Oh, do you know what? Also, like, as I get older, I'm just trying to just be like, hello, do you mind just let me know how to pronounce your name? Like,
Yeah.
I had there's an artist in America that I love, this guitar player. Although I'm gonna have to go, I forgot, this is awful because I've forgotten now how to pronounce his name, but he did me a solid and sent me a voice memo of how to pronounce his name, and so I can go back, but I've not, because I did it for my radio show, so I'm going to play one of his songs at some point.
Micah Priete.
Micah Priete. That was it. Did you hear it?
Priete.
Yeah. Okay. Brilliant.
But he's got a song called "The Pain of Two Legs," which is really good.
Okay.
And then also he's got "Kids Driving the Elevator." That's also a banging tune. Loads of like kind of low key singles and stuff. But oh man, a ridiculous amount of listeners on Spotify. He's done very well. But yeah, he's really cool. Really, like, probably one of the best guitar players out there, I'd say, right now.
Okay,
like, really
we'll
fascinating stuff.
Okay.
Like, just amazing.
So you just mentioned your radio show.
Yeah.
What's your radio show?
Depressival.
Oh.
Oh, have I talked to you about it? Sorry, I've got. So it started off as Daudi's currently untitled pretend radio show.
Yeah.
And so I was just doing it for fun. It started during lockdown. I say it started during lockdown. I only did like 2 episodes of this, like years apart as well. So the first one was the very first lockdown. We went into lockdown. I decided to record a radio show.
Brilliant.
Just sort of comfort myself almost.
Yeah.
And then basically after that, I tried to do some other ones. I tried to record again, and it didn't. Like, I think I enjoyed the first one so much. Then it made me afraid to do another one. Like, I sort of was like, oh, it was perfect. I shouldn't do it again.
Yeah.
And I didn't play all the songs I wanted to play, but it was quite a short episode. And then I did another one some point last year. Again, just for fun, and like, I think I had a new song coming out, so I wanted to like just put that in a little, give that a little shout out as well and stuff. And so I did that, and then I called it Daudi's currently untitled pretend radio show, and then my friend Jed Hallam, who is part of a collective, a community radio group, radio station called Love Will Save the Day. He's one of the founding members, and he invited me to be part of the platform and have a show on it. And so he was like, how would you like a real radio show? And I was like, I'd actually love one. And so we called it Depressival. or I called it Depressival, and I think I'm doing the 3rd show soon. It's like
wonderful.
Towards the end of it, it's like for week 4 of every month or something, like kind of thing. Depressival. So yeah, I did Depress. Yeah, the last episode was Depressival 2, Depress Harder. Yeah, Die Hard reference. And then this, I'm still like scouring for tunes to put in the next one.
Okay.
So the remit is just sort of like I just sort of feel it out and have a chat, and it's kind of similar to what I'm doing right now, like just chat with.
Yeah. And so you was on
yeah. It's on Mixcloud and all those places as well. And Love Will Save the Day FM.
We'll put the link into the information below this. So anybody who's listening to this, click on the more information and you can find a link to it.
Oh, nice. Nice.
Because it is that dream, isn't it? About being able to just to be able to choose songs that you want to share with other people.
Yeah.
And then have that in a way that you think people might listen to it.
Yeah.
It's really fun. It's really fun. In the same way that, like, you know, you share with your friends songs that you like. And exactly what, in terms of putting on these gigs, you're sharing with your community, like, these are tunes that we really dig. These are people that we really like. You should have a listen and maybe get into their stuff too. And that's kind of that's how I see radio anyway. Like, I think maybe on a bigger scale it's different, but actually maybe it's not at all. Like, I think, you know, there's people like Gilles Peterson, for example, is like a jazz musician. The way he picks records, you know, it's just all to do with feeling, and he sort of grabs, you know, he'll be in the studio just grabbing vinyls out and finding that. I think his tagline for years, I don't know if it still is this, but like searching for the perfect beat or something like that's the kind of, you know, it's a really intimate thing, you know, like. Yeah, it's like recording tapes for your mates, and
it is the old mixtape, isn't it?
Yeah. So we have my old band that we don't play music anymore, but we still like to hang out.
Nice.
So we have these things we call Bonehenge, where we all get together and we have an evening and we literally take in turn to play each other a song. And
nice, you call it Bonehenge?
Bonehenge, because I'll
That's so good. That's so good.
You've got t-shirts, Bonehenge.
Yeah.
That's amazing. That's actually legendary. Yeah, brilliant.
Just spend the night playing each other tunes. You just go,
nice.
oh, you've got to hear this, you've got to hear this.
Yeah.
And as Gilles Peterson, I mean, the phrase brilliant, 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 I believe was the phrase he used about you.
Yeah, that was, you know, he's done so much for me in the last, over the years, really.
Because you did Maida Vale with him?
Yeah, did Maida Vale in January or February.
Amazing.
It was bonkers.
What was that like? I mean, that must have been really fun, or
Yeah, it was fun. It was sort of, I wouldn't have used, probably not the word I would first choose to describe how I was feeling.
Okay.
But it was, in terms of just like it was so funny. It was such a wonderful, it all came together really beautifully. Like, we got the opportunity to do it and we went and did it. But like, I'd kind of thrown my sister in the deep end. I was like, can you come and sing on it? And on the session, she was like, yeah. And we had like 2 hours to rehearse. And then we had another friend of mine, Ashani White, and she jumped on vocals as well, my sister, and we all kind of like figured out the songs. And it was, and then we recorded a couple of songs off air first, and they were fine. It was really nice. And then they're like, right, live session, here we go. We're going live, 3, 2, 1, da-da-da. And everyone at Maida Vale was so lovely as well. Everyone was really, really cool. It was a really good session. But my heart, like, you know, I felt I was really focused. Like, I was really determined and focused in the lead up. But then when it went to air, my hands became so sweaty.
Right.
Unbelievably wet. Like, it was crazy. And then I've got this song called Fool Me As Many Times As You Like, and it's quite complicated. Like, it sounds more technically difficult than it is, but it's just like a lot of hammer-ons and pull-offs in consecutive. It's like dugga 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 dugga, and I was just clinging on for dear life. My fingers were slipping. Like, it was just they were barely hitting the strings they were meant to hit.
Yeah.
And I could feel my hand just like kind of gravity pulling it down, and I couldn't get back up to where I needed to be.
Yeah.
And I was just clinging for dear. It was like being in clinging on to like a vehicle or something with your bare hands and trying to hold on. It was so crazy. And like, I was just thinking, oh my God, I'm gonna have to stop playing in front of all of these people. And like my mind can't even hold how many listeners were tuned in at that moment. I was like, I don't know if I'll ever live that down. You're the guy that went on national radio and stopped playing. Like, I was like, don't be that guy. Do not be the guy. I can't allow it. And then luckily there was like I managed to find a tiny break in between the first and second verse where like I could just sort of reset. And luckily, Judith and Ashani, their backing vocals were like glue. They just held it all together. Like, if it was me on my own, you would have heard a very shaky, like kind of very nervous voice. Like I was really, I've never had nerves like that before. Like it hit me like a freight train. And then, you know, it was worse than it. I don't even get that at gigs. I never get that at gigs. But on the radio, like it was like, wow, that was. I even feel kind of like, ooh, just talking about it.
Don't think about it.
Yeah. It's quite. I'm quite squeamish now. I'm like, oh my God. But it was such a joy, and like this, it made for. Sometimes as well, like playing on the edge of your ability, whether it's circumstantial or otherwise, there's something quite magic about it. So even, you know, I went away from that session, like my brain was just like, okay, so a lot of people heard that. I don't think it was like it wasn't remotely perfect. Nothing was perfect in that session. However, I was like, gig's a gig, man. It was just a big gig. And so I kind of but then I listened back, and For Me particularly was really beautiful, but especially primarily because of my sister and Ashani White. Like Judith Matsiko is her name. Brilliant. She's my sister. But yeah, and Ashani, they both like elevated the song. Wonderful. And made it really special. So that was so now it's like quite a special artifact for me.
Hold my breath till I forget time. Stop using sight. I give up on trying, 'cause my jet's been tight for the longest time.
For the guitar-y geeks,
yes,
such as myself. So tuning, what are you at?
Yeah. So the story of that guitar, Cambridge Folk Festival fans. I don't know if Jamie does. I think he does do the Cambridge Folk Festival. So the guy that built my guitar is a gentleman called Jamie Swannell. Okay. He's a luthier based in Ely in Cambridgeshire. We met in a pub in Newark in like 2016, I think. And I was touring with GoGo Penguin and Portico Quartet, and he was a big fan of those bands, and we got chatting, and he said, you should play one of my guitars. And I thought, yeah, all right. And I was looking to buy a guitar at the time, but I was on a shoestring budget, and Jamie was like, no, you just take this on the road and let me know how it does.
Okay.
And
nice.
And it's an exceptionally good guitar. It's unbelievable. And he gave it to me in this tuning, which is essentially, he saw, because I was playing a lot in Dadgad, but in B flat. Okay. And so it's quite deep sounding. And he was like, and I was using 13s, 13 gauge strings. Yeah. And he was like, no, you should try this tuning, but also try 14s. Okay. And I was using coated strings at the time, and he was like, no, go uncoated and go 14s. Okay. And boy, oh, was he right. Like it suddenly was like, you know, that guitar that he gave me on loan, and that tuning became the tuning that I wrote the whole album in. Most of the album was written in that tuning. So yeah, the tuning he gave me was B flat F. No, that's not true. B flat D G D F B flat.
Oh,
So that's the tuning.
Yeah.
My music theory is absolutely dogs.
Well, with that B
it's
flat,
not-
you need that extra tension, otherwise it's going to be flopping all over the place.
Yeah. And so
okay.
like with but I was already doing that with my other guitar in B flat with 13s. We just did like a neck adjustment, and oh no, that's not true. We changed the bridge and the nut. And yeah, it's fine. But it wasn't a big deal. It was just like a setup. We just did a new setup. It wasn't a big deal. But yeah, with his guitar, it's suddenly like it just sounded huge, and like so deep, but also like gritty and like almost like achieving overdrive, but without anything breaking up. Like it was a really kind of, there was something quite guttural about the instrument, very woody, if that makes sense. You can really hear it.
And he bites in, and the notes there, and that's it.
And also Jamie's build was really pure. I know I just said gritty and almost distorted, but actually incredibly pure and like piano-like. I think the word I'm looking for is rich. So
there you go.
It was sort of, the chord voicings that are on the album that I've kind of gravitated towards with that tuning are like really, really rich, and they fill a room, like it's like you don't. Yeah, I think there's something quite interesting about the human brain. It maybe adds the notes to like the that you don't hear, but like it's like there's a song I've got called "Falling," which the guitar and the vocals are singing the exact same notes for most of the song, and it was actually the first song I wrote on that guitar. The first song I finished on that guitar, and it was just it's so pure. Like every note is like, it's weird, but every note is authentic. Like there's no artifice to it. It is finger metal wood.
Brilliant. There it is. That's what it's supposed to be, the pure notes.
And I really like, and that's very satisfying, like to hear. Like it's sort of, I don't know how he achieved that, because I've played hundreds of, maybe even thousands. Well, I've played thousands of guitars. Let's say hundreds, because I don't know. I don't know, thousands of guitars. That's quite a lot of guitars. But I used to work in a guitar. I've worked in a couple of guitar shops over the years.
Cool.
So like,
right, okay.
And I'm a massive geek. So I, in the same, I try and play as many things as. I do like guitar. I just love. I've been playing since I was. I've been writing. Well, I've been playing since I was like 8, and I'm 35. So like, but I've been taking it seriously since I was like 13. Let's say. So I think I've played a lot of guitar. I must have done. just out of default, it must have been. But also, like, I absolutely adore guitars and the magic they have, and but yeah, something about Jamie's particular, like I've played Loudons, which are brilliant. I played high-end Martins and Taylors and all sorts and stuff, and they're all amazing guitars. But I've never had a connection with a guitar that's been as direct. There might have been one other guitar I played. It was a 1964 00. And it was just that was like a knife through butter. It was amazing. It was effortless. But even that, like, but Jamie's guitar feels like an extension of my body. And also, like, it's almost like it's the ethos behind the guitar itself, as in it, like, it's quite a simple design. It's not ornate at all. It's just oven core back and sides and spruce on the top, and it's really simple. It really, like, there's no inlay dots. It's just like really, really simple, and for me, that's exactly the kind of music I want to make.
Just strip back to the basics, and you're doing well. And
it's allowed, like it doesn't get in the way of what's happening. Like, it's about, the instrument is purely about the music. It's not about how it looks. It's really about what it can do. And for me, it's like, I love that with, I was thinking about songwriting and the kind of, because when you think about a second album, what would you like to do? Should it be bigger in scope? Should he And it's like, I would just like to get better at what I do. I don't know, sure, that's it's an impossible thing to ask of someone, like, because songwriting is not a linear sport. Like, it's like, I don't know. It's like if you write a great song and go try and write another good one. It's like, you know, it's just you're rolling the dice. You're not.
Yeah.
It's not like climbing a ladder.
No. It's like, well, that was there, so this one's guaranteed to be there.
Yeah, exactly. You know, it's a slip and slide, and you know, just got to kind of hope for the best. Sometimes gravity happens, sometimes it doesn't, and like, but yeah, like the guitar really matches the spirit in which the tunes are made. And that was such a lovely. That was really luck. We met in a pub. We were just having a pint. Yeah. And then we got chatting, and that was that. And
some of the best things happen.
Yeah, I owe him a record. Like that guitar made the album. Like it gave me the confidence to make the album. And then when I went and recorded it, like because it was so well made, and because it was so, and also like it was kind of it's a bit more esoteric, but it was lovingly made. You know, like it was sort of you know, and Jamie's the only guy that's ever done work on it as well. Like so every time whenever I need to like do anything with it, I'll drive it down to Ely, and he'll get hands on it. And there's just something to it, you know. There's something really special about that connection and the level of care involved. I think it's really cool. Yeah.
That's really nice.
Yeah,
that
is really nice. Yeah, because it is such a personal thing. I mean, you've always said it with an instrument, and with the guitar especially, because obviously that's what you play. It's not until you physically hold it and play it that you know if it's the right one.
And you can have 10 of the same make, but each one feels differently. You can't tell a tree how to grow. You know, it's like I've always been a big advocate, as is ShireFolk as a project, of going to music shops in person, supporting music places where you can actually try and, you know, and experiment, because the people there are usually, I mean, generally incredibly supportive and want to help you. And, you know,
especially those like, you know, this like independent guitar shops particularly, or especially like there's a real that thing of like, it's like even the bigger shops as well. I've worked in some of the bigger stores around and I've worked in like a kind of family run thing, and I've done a bigger, more what do you call mainstream kind of guitar shop thing, and I always think of it like Harry Potter finding that wand, the Ollivander's wand shop, you know.
Ollivander's guitar.
And another thing, it's really similar as well. Like I've had the same experience with glasses recently.
Okay.
So I got my eyes tested and got a new prescription last April. I went looking for a pair of glasses, and it took me a year.
I can actually empathise with that.
Yeah, like I went and tried every single pair I could. I thought, I fancy that one. Let's try it on. I don't know. And then like even up to the last, you know, the pair I'm with now, I got them in February, end of Feb. Before I did, I picked them up on the day of the London show. So on the 28th of February, I think. Oh, was it 28th? Maybe let's say that. Whatever. And but it took me so long to commit. And even when I committed, like I took my friend Jamie, a different Jamie, Jamie Cameron. He's an artist known as The Last Dinosaur. We both went to the opticians together, and I was like, mate, there were like two different sizes. I was like, what do you think of these? And I was like, I'm thinking of these. And he was like, you know what, go for it. And I was like, wicked. And so I did, and I committed. But it took me, you know, it was. I've got like a year's worth of selfies from opticians in like from tour, like we toured like Europe in November, and every city I'd go for a walk and find an optician and try on some glasses.
Yeah.
And like,
I have
so
multiple
bonkers.
pairs, because you have to, if you're wearing glasses every day, you want to be able to mix it up a little bit.
Nice.
But these ones were sunglass frames.
Nice, smooth moves.
Because you know, me just trying on. I've got quite a big head, and you trying on all the other kind of glasses, and it just made me always feel like my head was too big.
Right.
And then I saw these and tried these on. And they had like and the guy in the shop was great, and he popped the lenses out so I could try them without the sunglass lenses. And I was like, that's it. They're the ones.
Actual Don. Yeah. That's amazing.
I don't feel like my head's too big. And then,
Oh, that's great.
It's such a big thing, yeah. It's not vain at all.
No, not at all. I think the thing is, it's got to like, it is important. You know, they're going to be on your face all the time, and I don't know. I think it's fine to care. Although, you know, if you look, I feel like I've taken it too far. I feel like I've gone a little bit obsessed.
Not in the
but-
slightest, no.
No,
Cool.
That's
Alright.
it's nice to hear. It is nice to hear.
So you did some stuff with Adam Buxton.
Yeah.
That's cool. That's very cool.
Yeah. He we first met back in, I want to say 2016 or 17. I hit him up because I wanted to to see if he would do a music video for me. I had this song called Sandwiches, and then I saw this video of him. There's a music video he did on a beach where like he's like blowing himself up or something. I can't remember. It was really funny, and I thought that was sick. And then also he did the Radiohead stuff as well, like on the In Rainbows videos, and I was like, oh my god. And I don't know what possessed me to even get in touch, because like, you know, I was a massive fan and I listened to the podcast.
Yeah.
And we were just going through Norwich, and I was just like, oh, I should hit him up. And then I wasn't confident. I was like, oh, I'm not going to do it. But then we went through Norwich again, and I was like, oh, hit him up. So I did, and he came to a gig. And he came to a gig, and we had a nice chat. And then he was like, oh, I was thinking about getting some musical guests on the podcast. Maybe you'd be interested. We'll see how it goes. And that was like 2017, 18. But did we meet? I'm trying to remember if we met up before we came to the gig, because I feel like I hit him up on SoundCloud. That was how we literally like made contact. I think it was the music video thing first. So we met up in like King's Cross, and we had like a rooibos tea together, and like, it was really nice. But he was way too busy as well. He was like, oh, I can't really do a video. I'm quite busy. But I was like, oh, sweet. Well, thank you anyway. Like, it's really amazing just to meet you, and thank you. And then we just stayed in touch. And then when he wrote his book, he said on the podcast that he was going to do some live shows, some warm-up shows where he'd just do some readings. Yeah. And then I just hit him up straight away, and I was like, hey man, would you ever want an opener, like just someone to support for those gigs? And he was like, yeah. And so I went and opened for him for a few shows in Norwich just before the year before the pandemic. So the book came out, that summer before. Yeah. And I was making the record at the same time. Because he came to the gig. Has he come to more than one gig, or just one gig? Maybe it's just the one gig. So the gig was a bit after, actually, in that case. But yeah, anyway, the long story short, I opened for him for like a couple of shows, I think, in Norwich at the Norwich Arts Centre, which was that's like one of my favourite venues. That's an old church that's been turned into a venue.
Cool. Right.
Really, really lovely venue. Like, I think one of my favourite venues in the UK. Really special place. And then the book came out, and he brought me back for a couple more shows, and then we'd recorded like an album commentary for my record, and it was just a bit unwieldy. I think I can't remember how. I think the plan was to edit it down into a thing, and it just didn't. I didn't do it, and I don't think it was funny, you know, when you like. I think on my part, I've not listened back to it, so I can't say for sure if this actually happened. But I get the sense that I was trying to be funny, like I was trying to like poke fun, because the King of Misery was a joke, and I wanted to kind of like, in terms of like the concept, the title as a concept was a joke. It was a joke between me and my friend Stephen Chew, but it was, you know, it was like, it wasn't a ha funny joke. It was like it was a loving joke between friends about like the melancholic genre that I occupied, I guess, and it was just like, there was just the sheer quantity of sad songs that I seemed to write, and then and it just seemed like such a brazen title as well. I was like, that's such a horrific thing to call a record. I was like, it's got to be done, and so the title wasn't even mine; it was Stephen Chew, and phenomenal. He's done all my artwork since 2004.
That was one of my questions.
Yes, I mean, Stephen working together. But what was I on about? So me and Adam did a podcast, did an album commentary, and then there was a whole thing with the record label that just dragged everything out. Because also I think it was still usable. I think it was still good what we recorded, but so much time had passed, like easily over a year had passed between like the recording of the commentary and then and then the album coming out, it maybe even 2. It'd been like 2 years by the time it was like ready for release, because it was signed to another record label, and that had a very sad, hard drama to get the record, to get the rights back and stuff, and so that was really difficult. And so in that time, we just had this thing we'd recorded, and it didn't. I don't know. I think neither of us wanted to go back.
Yeah.
And so he was like, "Do you want to just?" He was like, "Mate, I'll tell you what. Just come onto the podcast and do." But like But here's the thing. He said it was never meant to. Well, he was like, as a musical guest, the plan was I would go at the end of another person's episode, and I'd be like the musical guest, much like not maybe, I don't know if in my head it seemed like the format of like a talk show, almost like, have the chat and then a musical guest, and I'd say a few words. It wouldn't be like a long interview or anything like that, and I'll play a couple of songs, and I was so gassed about that. I was like, mint, that's amazing. So we went and recorded it. And we just had a nice chat. We just hung out and talked. And then the day before it came out, he just sent me a message just saying, I'm going to do an intro. Can you send me a bio? And I did. And then the next day, I was at my sister's house, and I get, like, because I've followed the podcast, I get notifications when a new episode's uploaded. And like I got a notification, and it was just like Daudi Matsiko, and I was like, and I just slid it across the phone across the table and turned it off and left it for the night. It was such a gracious thing for him to have done for me,
isn't it? It's lovely. Episode 215, if anybody's interested.
Oh, fair play to you.
I'm a big fan of the podcast. When I see your name pop up, I was like, no way.
He's one of the most generous people I've ever met in my life, and I've met a lot of generous people, and so I'm very, very grateful for that. It was a very, we were just chatting. It wasn't, it was really, really lovely.
It's lovely. It really is a nice episode. If anybody hasn't heard it, then
and
you
also
should go listen to it.
And also like the people that have reached out since, in terms of, coming to gigs, hollering me on social media, all that kind of stuff. Like I just feel so incredibly grateful.
So I discovered the Buxton podcast at the beginning of lockdown, didn't I?
Yeah.
And so
nice.
I had a lovely back catalogue to get through. So he was my podcast. He was my lockdown buddy.
Nice.
So every day I would do my 1 hour walk where I'm allowed to, and I'd have the next episode of Adam Buxton added. So, and even to the point of the ShireFolk website is Squarespace, and we've used the Buxton part.
How do you get on with Squarespace? I'm actually thinking of jumping across. I might.
We use it a lot. So I built my shop website through it. We put on like a music festival in Bridge-North, and that's built through Squarespace.
And the theatres that I work with, they've all moved across, and I've built them Squarespace sites.
It's fab. You can literally just jump on and just make those little changes.
Don't forget to use the word Buxton when it comes to putting the code in.
I was actually quite chuffed. I'm now a Squarespace Circle member, which apparently is a web developer thing. But it's only because I've got my business, and then the voluntary stuff we do, and then the ShireFolk thing was all that. So they obviously think I'm some kind of developer.
Big
but it's just the fact that I can just build my own website.
Yeah, can you pretty much do anything on there as well?
Pretty much.
Okay, mint.
It's really, and that they do have a lot of really good templates and stuff. So if you've got a particular feel or look you want to use, you can just jump on. But then once you're in it, you can just make all those changes you want to make.
So for the theatres around here, they tend to use it as well. So they do like hundreds of shows and screenings and stuff like that, and they just built it all on Squarespace because it looks also really good on mobile.
Yeah.
And as you're looking through the Google Analytics and you're seeing the day, because it's this weird shift during the day, a lot of desktop activity during office hours.
I probably do like 80% of my searches on mobile.
Yeah. And that's it.
People do now.
That's it. And then the evenings, you can see from tablet to mobile phone. As people are going to bed, they're looking on phones.
Wow,
and
so you get all those stats.
Yeah, so you can kind of see what's going on.
Oh, that must be... Is it good to know all that information?
It is, because
it must be great. You have to respond to it. If you actually pay attention to it, I should pay attention to it more.
Yeah.
But so when you're building stuff, you can kind of look at it and go, actually, more people are looking at it like this, so let's do it that way.
It's very useful to know what time of the day to send out a mail out as well.
You do the mailing through it as well?
Yeah, you can do mailing through it as well.
Very cool. Okay, well, I'll probably end up... I think, mate, you should hit Squarespace up for some sponsors. That's some great content we just for them. But yeah,
Not bad, I think.
like, oh guys, do you want to help us a few pounds?
I feel as good as you used to. Good tissues they untied you. As the rift grew wide inside you, they'll say you did what you had to. And you have not stopped laughing. Losing faith as God is purse. And death has chose his victim. Well, he slept on all those corpses. And you had to have the
Your email signature. Mental health first aider.
That's a recent thing. Yeah. So one of the organisations that really helped me recently are so I'm part of the Power Up program.
Mm.
So during 2020, the summer of 2020, when there was a thing called Black Tuesday after the murder of George Floyd, and basically on this day that you probably remember it, loads of businesses and artists and people put up a black square in their profile pictures to show solidarity and support, and you know, since it's I don't know how much follow through there's been since then, but like there was one of the beautiful things that came out of that was this initiative helped by the PRS Foundation called the Power Up called Power Up, and basically with Power Up they're kind of aimed at supporting black musicians at any stage of their career, and to get to the next thing they're going to. And so after my record deal collapsed, it actually didn't collapse. That's a very kind way to put it. So after I had this problem with the label, and left that deal, I applied to be a part of Power Up, and they offered me loads of support. And so they helped me release the record in terms of like a bit of funding and stuff, but also they offered like training opportunities, and with that it was mental health first aid. So I only recently completed it. I'm still trying to figure out my email signature, but like I put a little thing on there just because like in the music industry it's like I've struggled anyway, but like but there's so many. It's interesting that there's no HR department in music, and there's no You're
very self-reliant.
It's we're all freelancers, and as someone who's gone through I have bipolar affective disorder, and I struggled with depression and for a long time, and I would very much, and especially with the music that I make and the content of the King of Misery as an album as well, I was really grateful to be offered the opportunity to kind of be a bit better equipped to help someone in crisis, and it's not even necessarily crisis, but just like I've had it already. Like people will ask me for like help, or not even necessarily like help exactly, or just like they'll share like something they're going through, and just knowing what I might be able to do with that information. For example, it's like, oh mate, well there is this, there's this charity called Music Support, who the mental health first aid is run through. Music Support offer mental health support to musicians specifically, and they help you through it. They've got trained therapists on the phone. Any musician can give them a call, and they will help you, and anyone who works in the music industry as well. Like, so I've had it where I've recommended them to people working on the business side of the industry, in live music, professionals that aren't necessarily bands, and I've recommended specific individuals to Music Support, and they've helped them out and hooked them up with therapists and stuff, and they just signpost, and they help people get through it. So that's there's so many it's just such a good thing. It's just such a good thing.
It really is.
It's really
I've never heard of something like that. It's really
brilliant.
good to know that that's there.
Music support should really. I can't shout their praises enough.
Okay.
They're out there doing. If you believe in God, they're out there doing God's work. But really, like, in terms of just like, not to make it. I'm not religious at all. But what I mean is just like,
Yeah.
I when I was really down. I say down. I had this really dark moment. It must have been like 2019, where I felt like I couldn't go on, and I called up the Samaritans one night, and they just talked to me and helped me. It helped, and so I put their number on the back of the record.
Oh, wonderful!
So that's like one of the in big bold things on. If you're going through a tough time, call the Samaritans. When I was in crisis, like I had psychosis. People sat with me and performed mental health first aid on me. They they helped me out, and so I'm not a qualified therapist by any nothing like that. But I can have a go at helping.
That's lovely.
It's recognising and it's supporting it. That's what matters. And then, like you say, it's signposting people to the right places.
Have you got any tours coming up and later in the year you want to mention?
Yeah, so I'm
like
doing this little tour called with ShireFolk. I don't know if you've heard of them.
Nice.
I see you did that.
But yeah, we're on our shows. Our shows are in May.
They are.
I've forgotten the dates.
9th, 10th and 11th.
Nice. Yeah. That's been a fun week for me as well. I've got to get from Bridgenorth, I'm going to Newcastle to play with GoGo Penguin, and then
local then.
Yeah. Wait, hold on. I'm going to Newcastle, and then I'm going to Ghent, and then I'm going to Bristol. No, going to Leicester, then Bristol. So that particular week is. I'm already sweating, but our gigs are going to be really calm. I think it's going to be nice.
Yeah, really.
But it's going to be
so. We'll keep it nice and chill for you.
Yeah, man, I'm so looking forward to it, and so those are the big ones that we want to talk about. Well, anyone that wants to kind of find more about my music, please listen to my album, The King of Misery. It means a lot to me. But also, if you want to if you want to say hi on social media or just stalk, you're more than welcome to do that. In fact, you've been invited to do that, and that's just at Daudi, Daudi on Instagram. If you go www.daudi.co.uk, Daudi.co.uk, you can find links to everything, but also just at Daudi will get you most place. Well, get you in Instagram anyway, and then hello Daudi wherever else, I think.
Thank you again for being so generous with your time.
Yes, thank you.
Well, Wesley and Jen, thank you so much.
Underwater, taking breaths, my lungs, they have much to desire. I had swimming lessons as a child, I hope I still remember. I was feeling dark, but now it's death. Shadows, they whisper surrender. Embarrassment up ahead, but I am grateful for my friends. I am grateful for my friends. Oh, I am grateful for my friends. Oh, I am grateful for my friends. I am grateful for my friends.
How lovely was that?
Absolutely beautiful, man.
I'm just so looking forward to the next few days to hear him live, again. Because when we first saw him, that was just...
It just blew us away, which is why we were so thrilled when we approached Daudi.
Yeah.
As we mentioned in the podcast, kind of accosted him after his performance at the English Folk Expo.
We literally just came marching over to his merch stand and going,
hi,
we come and play with us.
We're really nice, please come. And he said yes.
Yeah,
so,
literally, if you seen us two walking up to you the way we did to him, alarm bells would go off in my head.
You start running. Run for the doors, people.
Yeah,
It's those ShireFolk people again. They're going to get you over.
all of this project can only be done because of the amazing support of our sponsors. And in particular, we want to just highlight the Arts Council England. They have been incredible and supported this project from the very offset, and enabled all of this to happen. So a big thank you to them.
Huge thanks for making it happen. And also to all our other sponsors.
Oh, we are doing an extra special bonus podcast.
There will be a ShireFolk special with those folk.
Yes, those folk. We're doing a one-off special.
Who are those folk?
Oh, those folk. So we're doing a one-off show with those folk at the Regal in Tenbury Wells on the 4th of June, which is exciting. So yeah, we did a sit down with them the other night.
Our first international chat.
Yeah, because one's from California and one's from Australia.
And we chatted to them while they were in California.
Yeah. That's yeah.
Yeah, first international.
Wow, there you
Okay,
go.
let's go.
Brilliant. So watch out for that very soon. That'll be coming out very soon. And then straight after that, we are recording a podcast with Katie Spencer.
Yes, which is going to be wonderful and we can't wait. So yes, there's still lots going on in the world of ShireFolk. Keep up to date. Join our mailing list if you're not part of it. But one would assume if you've got to this point of the podcast, you probably already are.
Yeah, and for those who are really, really here at the bitter end, hi Andy.